Well, welcome this afternoon, everybody. I've proceedings today with a karakia, so I'll just press on straight away. So just to let you know, we're a recorded meeting as usual. And thanks to every council standing and all the staff that are here today. So let's get this one.
So, first of all, any apologies from anybody? No apologies. No public forum, Ali, looks it, which is fine. Any items not on the agenda people want to bring up? No. Good, that's great. So we'll, no, we won't quite get onto it. Any declaration of conflicts of interest? Yep, so we'll move straight on to confirmation of minutes. I would like to move and second we receive those. Deputy Steve, Councillor Naima, all in favour?
Aye.
Flick through them page by page. On my agenda, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7. Oh, sorry, Irina, I forgot to welcome you there too. So, question from you.
That's all good, Kerry. I just want to ask, how's the Paitoa pool? Is it ready for the summer?
Irina, we'll have that in the capital report a little bit later in the agenda, if that's okay.
Yeah, cool as. Thank you.
All good. Thanks very much. Any other items? Everybody happy? Right. We need to move and second that again, have you? Right, all the minutes will pass on to the next item on the agenda, which is the main report, which is Hamish Infrastructure Management Report. All yours.
Thanks. Thank you, Chair Kerry. I'd like to invite Roger and Mark and Dan on behalf of the infrastructure, management team to come up and talk through the month's achievements, if they could please.
Welcome, Mark. Andrew, Dan.
One more chair.
Dan, I should say.
The only representation we don't have here from the team is the solid waste, and I'd just like to say that they're doing quite well at the moment. Things are issues are being ironed out as we go with the transfer stations. They're getting more efficient as they go, and now that we have the contract signed with Smart, that process is underway as well. So they're doing the curbside collection, and that contract's underway, and we've had the first month of operation there. So it's all going fairly well, and Jo's still finding things she can improve on. So efficiencies a little bit, but mostly in terms of the quality of the material that's leaving the district and that sort of thing. So still going well. So we'll hand over to Mark and Dan to talk through the roading stuff. Questions on the solid waste?
Should we just move through the report page by page then, Hamish? Right, the writing voice can put input. So
we'll go to of my agenda, page 9, which is the first page of the report. Questions as we go, councillors. Councillor Peter.
Thanks, Chair Kerry. Any update on the Woodville footpaths and Waka Kotahi's fund?
Through you, Chair Kerry. So the only update we have is that there is still no news to be said yet. So we have had some information from central government, I guess the Minister Brown, on other parts of that SURF funding, so the Climate Emissions Reduction Fund, which is where the Transport Choices money comes from. So one of the other funds has been put on hold officially, but not Transport Choices yet. So we haven't got a steer either way yet, and the Waka Kotahi staff are still advising us that they're on hold as well. They're waiting to find out. So.
Thanks, Peter. We'll go on to page 2 of the report, item 3, transport. If any questions, I might just, Mark, you like to make some comments about the item 3, thanks?
Yeah, as we're moving into the December period.
Yeah.
As we're moving into the December period, the main focus is on getting in the maintenance works that up to scratch. So obviously when we take the break, anything else, everything else is up to scratch for that period. Any of the major works that are currently underway, trying to ensure that they're closed off to a point, so that over the Christmas period with the increased traffic and the like, everything is covered off well to avoid any incidences over that holiday period. On the practical part, we're actually heading, I'll hand over to Dan and he can fill us in.
Good afternoon, everyone. So yeah, as far as how the physical works is going around the preliminary pre-resale repairs, so our maintenance teams are trying to make the most of the dry weather that we are having, but as we all know that the weather has been a bit up and down, but we're making the most where we can. We are intending to start our reseal season in January as expected. But as Mark mentioned, we are just trying to get everything closed up for the Christmas break. Majority of our sites that are going to be open over there at Christmas break will be out on the Route 52 project, just because there's so much going on out there and the teams are trying to get through as much as work as they can. So I just want to make a point that the signs are out there for a reason. I know that people can, when travelling for their holidays, can get a bit of sign fatigue just from the amount of gear out there, but it is out there for a reason. So I hope everyone ensures that they follow the signage. We will have a team working over the break that will be regularly monitoring those sites to ensure that they are safe, as we do understand that there will be increased traffic volumes, especially heading out to likes of Herbertville and Akateo. With the weather, we are seeing a lot of growth with vegetation just because it's so up and down. So we do have contractors that are working through the flat mowing, roadside flat mowing, and spraying as well, the roadside spraying, including the urban spraying as well. So yeah, we're working through that. Just would like to touch on the roundabouts, as it was sort of mentioned at the last meeting. So we are planning to undertake the roundabout repairs from the 8th of January, starting with the Steer Street roundabout. We're looking at a closure for that roundabout, as we have looked at different options and how we can keep the traffic flow through there. But the safest and most effective option for those crews is to close that road. So we'll be trying to minimise delays as much as we can, and we have a good detour for traffic that wants to use that route. But so it'll be a 2-week closure for the Steer Street roundabout, and then we're looking at moving on to the Victoria Street roundabout in early February to carry out that work as well. So you're quite excited to get the work completed on those. That's all I've got. So
Thanks very much, Dan. Good to hear about the 2 roundabouts there, actually. Been a bit of chat about those. We did mention in our last report, so that's good.
Good to know that we're actually got some dates in mind for those then, so thanks for that. Irina, we're looking to hear from you, Irina, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Thanks for that update about the roundabouts. So will that closure be finished before school goes back? Just thinking about our school.
Yes, so the intention was to get the Steer Street roundabout completed before school goes back. So over the 2 weeks from the 8th of January, that roundabout work will be completed in that 2-week period. Going to the Victoria Street roundabout, we understand that there will be a little bit of disruption to schools in that sense, because I believe that we'll be doing that second roundabout once school starts again, but Steer Street roundabout will be completed, which we believe will be the most disruption, hence why we're going with that roundabout first.
Yeah, definitely. That's great to hear. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Irina. Councillor Moore.
For you, Chair. Dan, you made particular note of Route 52, and also would that include River Road as well? And also how much work or damage has occurred to River Road, please?
So we do have a site that's currently in progress on River Road for our renewal program. At the moment, we are doing the earthworks part of that repair. So the intention won't be to start the pavement repairs until after the break, so there will be no disruption to that particular site. As far as the rest of the damage on River Road, are you referring to the cyclone, for Cyclone Gabrielle, or just recent repairs? So there was significant damage on River Road from the cyclone. There has been some work already carried out on River Road that has been completed. There are still dropouts quite closer to Ekatio on River Road. We're just still working through the design process for those sites, but we made significant progress with the designs for a lot of the high complexity sites just across Musical Works in general. Andrew probably will have a bit more information to touch on that, but there hasn't been other sites apart from the one that I just mentioned with the earthworks that have started out there that would be happening over the break.
Thanks very much, Mike and Dan. Anybody? Oh, sorry. Councillor Sharon.
Thanks, Chief. It's probably more a comment, just to add to that, Dan. I was at the Pongaroa Community Committee meeting last night, and we were reflecting on what's happened during the past year. And I said, well, you know, I'm the glass half full girl, and I said, what do you think of your roads now? And they're just grinning from ear to ear about, you know, the progress that was made, even though it was devastating what happened. What they've ended up with is absolutely fantastic. It's a 3-lane highway out underneath Huia, you know, what you managed to do there, and Coast Road's absolutely fantastic. So there's some pretty happy ratepayers out there with some of the hard work that you guys and the team have done. So thank you from me.
Thanks for that, Sharon. It's nice to have some positive feedback to the boys doing all the work, isn't it? So, Andrew, sorry, welcome, Andrew. I didn't see you on the screen before, but in your hands for a moment.
Yeah, just while we're on the River Road subject, I thought I'd just bring some stats up just so we can put a bit of context around what River Road is like. Hopefully this comes up on your guys' screen in front of you. That's showing up your end?
All good, Andrew, thanks. Yep.
Yeah, so yeah, River Road from a high complexity point of view, there's 13 high complexity sites out on River Road. This is the phasing of the project, so we've got basically from the Cyclone Gabriel ones, we've got 5 in detailed design phase, which are all likely to be ready to go in basically for construction this summer. There are some big sites involved in that, and there's one in particular which has got a lot of material component for it. So yeah, it is a focus to get some of that, particularly the River Road route. It was one of the more impacted routes from the cyclone. So I thought I'd just touch on that before while it's topical.
Thanks very much for that, Andrew. That's really helpful, actually. Any questions, councillors, of Andrew while he's on that subject? No, thanks very much, Andrew. Just pop your hand up any time while we're going through the report.
Yeah.
Right, councillor, we'll move on to regulatory and Three Waters. So, councillor Sharon.
Chief Kerry, the speed management plan, the last item in that table there. Yes. For the same reason I put a big cross by it, possibly. Further updates will follow once we've received direction from Waka Kotahi. So I guess I'm asking the obvious question, given everything that we've done and some of the decisions that we made, we're obviously in a holding pattern now, and no, you're giving me that, Mark.
I received some feedback from Hamish today in regards to the speed management plan going forward. They've scrapped the mandatory dates for it to be done, so it's sort of removed it from our radar as such. However, I believe the last line of the second paragraph says we can still continue on with it should we feel the need to. So now it's basically at council discretion to continue with it.
Thanks, Margaret. Just to add to that, I mean, it has hit the media today, so there's a few articles out in the media about this decision that's come out overnight. It was shared with us via Mayor Tracy very early this morning. So we've been getting our heads around that side of things. It basically removes we don't have to do school speed zones anymore. But like Mark said, it's at our discretion, and it certainly from an officer recommendation point of view, we'd like to continue with that work.
Councillor Scott.
Thanks very much, Mr. Chair. Just respectfully ask the officers, I guess, take that away and have a further look at it before we plough ahead. Reason being, my understanding from Minister Brown's letter is it requires variable speed limits around schools, so doesn't encourage them. It actually puts in the requirement for doing it, which as a council we decided not to do because it was cost prohibitive. Although there was a desire to do it, the costs outweighed it. So I think we also need to be having a look if that is a requirement around schools, at what funding may come with that requirement, because I think that's going to be an important consideration.
Absolutely, I think definitely would take that on board. I think the key is that he didn't mention electronic variable signs, which is probably some light relief, but absolutely it would be more expensive.
Thanks, Hamish. So councillors, if we perhaps if we Hamish maybe look at that in the new year, pop it onto the committee's agenda and have a bit of a chat about it. That the way to go, do you think, from you?
Yeah, Chair Kerry, happy to. We can put a work launch in addition to next month's report, just with what the process is going forward.
Yeah, great. Okay, that's fine. Thanks very much for that. Team, we'll move on to just flick through the page after regulatory 3.2. And from up there, it's so we'll just get on to the Three Waters. Roger's here. Maybe he'll have a say about some of this. So if we go through to page 12 of my report, 4.1 onwards, three councillors will get close to hand that over to Roger to have a quick through. So Roger, you're okay with this? We'll go from 4.2 onwards, and we'll just go item by item if you like. Thanks.
Very much, Mr. Chair, ladies and gentlemen. I'll take the report as read, but I've got a number of comments, if that's right, Mr. Chair. So firstly, in relation to the Dannevirke impounded supply program, we are working on getting the contracts signed for the pre-treatment plant and the clip tanks before Christmas. So we're just finalising the details of those now. However, the reservoir won't be until the new year. The gallery is going to be, the intake gallery at the Tamaki River is going to be cameraed early in the new year. So I think that's scheduled for the 15th of January. So we'll get in and actually investigate the condition of that gallery and then do any remediation works that are required. So that's underway. There's a meeting with Tonkin and Taylor Dam Watch and the council this Friday to discuss the scope moving forward of the detailed design. So essentially an opportunity, the delay of remediation works has provided an opportunity for a review, and we'll be commencing that this Friday. In addition, we want to get further clarification around the geotechnical investigation results. So these were received on the 1st of December. And I'm not going to read it all out because it is quite complicated. But I think there's a couple of points I'd just like to highlight. So firstly, a drainage and stability boom is very likely at the toe of the Eastern Dam embankment, but not to the extent that was originally posed in the concept design and preliminary cost estimates. So to a lesser extent than was initially anticipated. The scale of any other work to that eastern embankment, especially as it relates to the subsoil outlet pipe and trench, is uncertain. So there's still a question mark around this particular area, which we need to get clarified, and that's one of the key questions for the meeting on Friday. So they've indicated that there may still be a requirement, but more analysis is required. And then work to the western embankment has been assessed as unlikely, but it cannot be dismissed. And the key reason for that is that they've identified that there's additional geological units present in the vicinity of the dam. So as I understand, there's two quite distinct types of soil that happen to link happen to overlap underneath the area of the impounded supply. And so that's caused some challenges in terms of identifying exactly what does that mean. And finally, they have recommended a further borehole. So we're going to challenge that on Friday. Just made it clear that we can't continue endless geological investigations. But it's, as I think many of you can appreciate, sometimes it's really hard to nail these consultants down. So that's one of our challenges on Friday, especially around the geological investigation results. So I'll move on, and then if there's any particular questions. Project delivery. So the Dannevirke DAF is looking really good. The Dannevirke Wastewater Forum that we're required to hold as part of one of the conditions of our consent occurred yesterday, and it was at the Dannevirke Dam. So a number of the people that attended that forum were able to see the new DAF, and people were really impressed and encouraged. Horizons in particular indicated that it's really pleasing to see that some good progress has been made there. Anticipated date, handover date is the 31st of January, and we're just working out a date for the official opening of that new facility at Dannevirke, but really encouraging. Also, we got some good news today. They took we had a pipe specialist here today from WSP looking at the siphon, the Dannevirke siphon. So they took a sample out of the siphon piping itself, assessed it, and the preliminary feedback we got was that we've probably got another 15 to 20 years at least out of that pipe, that siphoning pipe. So that's a 375 millimetre asbestos pipe, so it's quite a big pipe. But what that does mean is that we can now commence with the details around a pump station that will enable us to deal with the heavy water when it rains, or the excess water we get going through that siphon, which causes the challenges that we've experienced for some time, to get that addressed. So from our perspective, that's really encouraging and good news. I'm moving on over now to 4.6.1, which is Pongaroa, and you'll note that there's a significant non-compliance around Pongaroa. And the key reason for that is that the discharge consent expired in April 2019. We have not made a decision on what process we're going to install at Pongaroa, which has delayed the new consenting process. So we really need to move on that now. We're getting some pressure from Horizons. However, we met with iwi for the first time today from a waters perspective. So we've now instigated monthly meetings with iwi, and they made it very clear that their first priority is Eka Tahuna. So they really want Eka Tahuna to be resolved. That's their greatest concern before we start looking at other treatment plants across the district. So it was good to get that feedback, to be clear on where they stand, because we were asking for their feedback today around how we might progress with Pongaroa and Norsewood.
Do we?
Do you want me to stop there, because I can see there's a few questions?
So, Tracy, Councillor Sharon.
Thanks, and I'm happy to hand to Councillor Wards as the representative to Pongaroa if you want to ask some questions first. But
may well be the same. The implications for Pongaroa by doing that. I mean, I appreciate, Roger, we do have to prioritise all this, but the implications for Pongaroa as we wait. I mean, what are the risks to them as a community while we sit on and wait? I mean, I appreciate Horizons have informed us that there'll be an enforcement action in big bold letters there, but what does this mean for the Pongaroa community while we wait?
Before you finished. My understanding is that the process, the treatment plant is functioning fine. So really the driver is that the fact that the consent has expired. So we need to make a decision around Pongaroa and Norsewood and Ormondville. And so we're going to progress that, but I'm just highlighting that from a priority perspective, well, I think we really need to nail Eke Te Huna, both in terms of the wetlands and the process and get on with that. So just highlighting, well, I suppose conveying iwi's perspective to this.
Thanks for having me, Tracy and Councillor.
Thanks, Chair Kerry. If I was to reflect on the learnings from the Eke Te Huna wastewater treatment plant, wastewater ponds, you know, the cost of going through that process and where we landed now for 254 connections is just mind-boggling. How many connections are there at Pongaroa and Norsewood individually? And I guess what would we look at differently? Because I'm not sure that we would go down the process of looking at something that might cost $10 million for a 7-year consent for those smaller communities when there's only 254 connections in Eke Te Huna. So I understand that the iwi's desire to get that corrected, but in Pongaroa and Norsewood we may not. Yeah, they've got less connections. Would we consider something alternate as putting septic tanks or something different in?
And as I understand, that's our immediate challenge is what are we actually going to do? It appears that not a lot of work has been completed on those particular townships, noting that cost is a critical issue. So we need to be realistic in the approach we take, but the analysis hasn't occurred in terms of what needs to be addressed, you know, what conditions of the consent need to be addressed, and how might we do that? What's a cost-effective and efficient way of doing, an affordable way of doing that?
I'd still be keen if this committee had the exact number of consents so that we understood that for both of those. That'd be great.
Sorry, an exact number of connections. Yeah, I don't have that. I'll get back to the committee with that. Yeah.
And then what?
Yeah, I'm keen to hear the comparison of how many and how much money for both Pongaroa and Norsewood compared to Eke Te Huna, how much that's going to cost. And if our consent is already expired in Pongaroa, I would have thought that was a priority as well. But is that both iwis would prefer us to put money into Eke Te Huna first priority? Was it just?
No, yeah, that was both iwi. Yep, yeah. So James and Dwayne both stressed that they saw that addressing the situation at Eke Te Huna from their perspective was the priority. I think especially, you know, the water, wastewater going directly into the river and the way that it is. So.
Councillor Mike first, Peter, and yourself.
Through you, Chair. We're waiting on pricing for Eke Te Huna, aren't we? And when is the date for that, please?
We're not expecting that probably until the middle of next year. So we're going to need to put together an RFP. So we're going out to the market and we're going to get the market to come back and respond as to which process. So we're going to, I think there's 3 processes, options that have been identified as feasible. So we're going to let the market choose. The advice we've got from our procurement team is to let the market choose as to which they think is the best process and what it's going to cost. So that we're looking at a broad range of options so that when we come back to council, we've actually got some options to present to council rather than necessarily just saying, right, we're going to put a DAF in as an example and get them all to quote on that, because there could be some quite significant variations in the cost that come back depending on which process is selected.
Thank you. So I just jump ahead of Peter, Councillor Peter. In Mike's capital report, there is an item, he's indicating there that Mike is, that we have a workshop run by Terry Lamb looking at reviewing Eke Te Huna wastewater. That's correct, Michael? Is it?
It was one of the last ones that was raised at the last ICE.
So perhaps in council we might just, or Roger here, obviously then Roger on the capital report, there is a note there that Terry Lamb is to facilitate a meeting. And I think it was discussed by councillors that everyone's concerned about the $10 million costs of Eke Tahuna. So obviously from your perspective, you're looking at some market pricing middle of the year, but in the capital reports, there's some talk about us holding a review or a discussion amongst councillors. So I'm just flagging that and wonder, should we have a look at that as a council, as a team, prior to just thinking Roger's notes on that, just get councillors' feeling about that. So something in the new year we should talk about, do you think?
Yeah.
All right, we'll just make a note of that. We'll get Ellie and make a note of that for us. And Councillor Peter.
Sort of covered it really. I noted that intention to have a discussion about it with in the project sheet. So yeah, no, that's covered it.
Thanks, councillor. So thanks very much, Roger. Doesn't go away these scene issues, do they? So, so okay with Pongrosia?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
So if we just move on, then I'll just carry on with us through your report. Thanks. Here we got up to, isn't it? Recreation.
If we look at 4.6.3, just to note that there have been several significant non-compliances at Eke Tahuna. So we're waiting for formal feedback from Horizons and expecting that before Christmas, just in terms of what action needs to be taken there. So once that's received, we can then proceed from there.
You've got like some comments here, Dave? Your baby, I think, isn't it? That's the terminology.
Councillor Smith Tracy. Yes, this is my baby, and this is my doing. This is my I dropped the ball on this one, and the consequence of not notifying a couple of things. One was the sediment erosion plan that was put through the resource consent process. I was supposed to give it back to Horizons to certify that erosion plan, which I didn't do. And there was a couple other issues over 20 days notification at the start before I did any construction, a couple of things like that. So I'm busy tidying that up at the moment with Horizons. So I met on site with Horizons staff, both iwi and the golf club. And we're working through, I suppose the benefit of is that the sediment erosion hasn't gone into the river or anything. So there's no, that is not the where I'm getting whipped at the moment. It's more of that the nothing was ticked off from them. So all that red tape part, I just got on after Christmas, got into the job and away we went. So we're busy updating that at the moment so they can tick it off. We're doing a couple of things they've asked us to do with tidying up the batter on the part at the end. We're then doing the hydro seeding of that batter for Christmas. So that was some of the specifications that they would have made sure that we did in the plan. Also, there's a bit more cultural monitoring going to be done, which normally would get done anyway, but they're going to do it at this time because we didn't have that plan in place. They're doing that both of you are doing it together, doing it on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah, so basically I dropped the ball early in the process. I'm now trying to backtrack and tidy everything up and get us away from getting any notification of serious consent part. So, yep, take it on the chin, but that's where we are with that process.
Thanks. Thanks, Dave. No, thanks. I think we're up to date with Eke Tahuna. Back to you, Roger. Thanks. Thanks very much, Dave.
And just one final comment around the management of water leading up to the summer period. So the Three Waters team have instigated a regional water supply monitoring group, and they met for the first time on the 5th of December. So at the moment we're meeting fortnightly, given the weather conditions, and just doing an analysis of exactly what levels the rivers are at and what supply we have in our various reservoirs. So that's been completed on a fortnightly basis. The next meeting will be on Tuesday next week. And the intent is that if we have any concerns in terms of what's going on, then we will raise that to the emergency management team. And essentially they can then pick it up if there is some particular action that needs to be taken at a council-wide level. So essentially, it's the monitoring that the team are doing on behalf of council, so we don't get caught out, and we can impose restrictions in a timely manner to ensure that we effectively manage our water supplies during the summer.
Thanks very much. That's good news to hear that's up and running, Roger, for sure. Councillor Mike and then Mayor Tracy, thanks.
Through you, Chair, that is good news. So we're ahead of the ball, particularly in the summer, which could be dry. Who is in the team, please?
So at the moment, the team is led by Tom, who's the Tom McElvey, who's the Three Waters Operations Manager, and includes compliance. It includes Hamish, myself, and Stephen Dunn, and we're also going to invite Peter Sinclair to make sure he's part of that. So trying to get a broad representation across council without imposing on too many staff members.
Thanks. Tracy.
Through you, Chair, when we had the extraordinary water Dunedin compounded supply meeting, there was an item there that referred to community engagement plan and a stakeholder plan. I just wondered if that communications document has been created, updated, or whereabouts that might be.
As far as I'm aware, nothing's been done with those documents. So obviously there has been communication to the community through the Bush Telegraph and other means. But if you're referring to a specific plan, I can't comment on that. So I'd have to follow that up and get back to you, Mayor Tracy.
Thanks, Roger. I couldn't quite recall what the context of that, Mayor Tracy, at that meeting. Was that we were going to set that in place straight away from that meeting, or once we'd received more information regarding the eastern and western embankments? Can't quite recall that.
The item said this engagement will continue and officers will prepare a community engagement plan for these decisions as well as the broader program of works, and will present this to council for approval. The engagement plan will include the use of approved methods for public engagement provided for council's significance and engagement policy in line with legal advice received. It is intended that public engagement will take several forms to ensure it's accessible to all our communities, including publications on council's social media accounts and website articles in the Bush Telegraph and public council reports and public meetings. So it was just following up to make sure that we're fulfilling what we said that we would do.
I think, Mayor Tracy, we were thinking about once we had firmed up in which direction we were going to go. Was that right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
That's the word.
Oh, that's all right. No, thanks. That was sort of your remembrance of that too, Roger.
Yeah, that's my understanding. So I think we need to have this meeting with Tonkin and Taylor, and then just be clear on where we're going with the detailed design, and then we'll be in a position to start communicating further. Yeah. But really, we don't have anything new to go out just at this point. But yeah.
I think that's everyone's understanding that. Thanks very much, Tracy there. So Three Waters, before we move on to the reporting run duty work off. So Councillor.
Thanks, Chair Kerry. Just one back to 4.3, Roger. The sludge holding tank at the Woodville water treatment plant, is that clip tank that collects the backwashing water? Is that full of sludge?
Yeah, it is full of sludge and needs to be emptied. So yeah, just a routine operational task, but yeah. We'll probably need to get sucker trucks to come in and suck it out, I would think.
Yeah. Thanks very much, Roger. We just about done for you, Amy. We want to solid. Thanks very much, Roger, for your update. Much appreciated. We'll move on to solid waste, which I think we've already covered. Thanks, Amos. Get on to thanks very much, Mark and Dan. Appreciated. What were two operational projects? We discussed that a little bit earlier on this morning. Amos, any further more comments about 5.2? Minimisation plan, we're okay. There's a note there that we've got a contract signed now with. Yeah, it's the smart contract signed. We did discuss that. Yep. Hello, councillors. Next, this report. Could we have a mover and seconder that we've received? Okay, Tracy, councillor Sharon, all in favour? Carried. Thanks very much. If we now move on to Mike, right, all yours. Capital portfolio report. Welcome this afternoon.
Thank you.
We'll perhaps Mike will take the report as read, but just let you just take us through the report, and councillors can ask questions at the end of it, or perhaps page by page if you there's any close up.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, I mean, first thoughts things to present on the portfolio report here. So I think a few of these ones have been actually somewhat covered off. And as Chair said, I'll take the report largely as read. I think a key takeaway for myself anyway is just to note that while we have the long-term plan review underway, a lot of these have been seeing a lot of reforecasting in alignment with our strategic objectives. So that has been good, and it is, at least I would say, looking at it, showing some good progress in a lot of these areas. So I'm happy to step through it singly as one-by-one projects. However you'd like to do it, if we'd like just to go for questions, Chair, or.
Before we start, we'll flip through the pages. Sorry, just flipping the pages,
Mike, but just very quickly on page 21, we had mentioned holding a bit of a discussion with Terry Lamb and the councillors about Eketahuna. So that's covered off. Dave's given us an update on Eketahuna wetlands, which is good. Norsewood water treatment plant, some supplier issues and things here. I don't know, any councillors, some comment, me, Tracy, there?
Thanks, Chair Kerry. I mean, Norsewood Water is very high on the residents' radar. I guess I just wanted to check in how we're communicating with Norsewood Promotions and the community to keep them informed of the progress. They're the ones that are putting up with it.
Yeah, so we can look into how exactly they're doing the communications plan with that one. I do know that our project manager, though, in the last few weeks at least, has fronted a fair few conversations with ones that either come in or through the comms team on Facebook and that.
Names for those in regards to.
So the common things that have just been on is just the colour of the water and what is happening, just the status update, and he has been open about exactly what is happening. So those people have left. We are underway with that, and that we have been making moves to actually bring forward.
Thanks, Mike. Perhaps if I could just ask a couple of questions, Mike, just I might duck to Roger. I did forget a couple of things here. So we did hear from the infiltration gallery, where Roger put us up to plate there. We'll talk to Andrew in a second. Roger, if I could just clarify something, we're on to the Dannevirke alternate water source, and you've got waiting till February, but the comment you made about getting another bore down, was that relating to the water source or relating to further geological matters with the western and eastern embankments?
smart boat was coming onto the end, that refers to the embankments or to the water source of Dave's handling.
The embankments. So yeah, nothing to do with the water source.
They wanted to do more, another bore there.
Yeah, they want to do another bore there on the western embankment. Because they couldn't, we put a digger in there and dug it out, but they couldn't get deep enough to reach the level of or the different type of soil. So yeah, that's the proposal.
Thanks, Roger. So, sorry, Mike, I'll just get, just while that last time, I'll just get Dave to give us a little bit overview of the areas with the second bores and the alliance bore. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, so
thanks, Roger.
is the right button.
Gotta push talk there. I turned it off.
Being in the limelight. So update on the alternate water supply. So next Tuesday, the seismic team are coming back down to, let me rewind. So we went up to Tamaki and put one exploratory bore in there. We had a good sign for half the depth of the bore, 11 meters. We had nice metal and we were getting around about 15 litres a second. Guesstimate.
Laws Road, Dave.
Sorry?
Laws Road.
Laws Road, yep, Laws Road. It's between 15 and 20 out of a 100 mil exploratory bore. Then we hit blue clay for 10 metres, which sort of put a real dampener on the day's proceedings. So we stopped there and then I talked back with Bayliss Brothers and Hastings again and the seismic lady. We talked about, because that same day we could have gone along a bit further and hit the same thing. And what I was worried about was putting another bore down 100 metres away, striking the same thing. So we decided to had a conversation about bringing the seismic lady back now to do some work around where would be the best place. If there's a better place rather than hitting blue clay, let's get the good metals further down. So we're working on them coming on Tuesday to do that, which will give us, we'll probably maybe put two seismic testing runs up there. And at the same time, we're revisiting the alliance. We weren't going to do this till January, February, but we've brought it forward. So we're going to do it down the alliance as well. So we're going to do one upstream of where we put the exploratory bore in the alliance and maybe one downstream. So probably putting about four in there. If the upstream one doesn't work, it's probably pretty silly doing the next downstream one day. That's what they always say. But the other option maybe we'll put there's a reasonable spring right beside their water tank, and we may talk about whether we should put one there as the other seismic part. So that's where we are with that part moving forward. If we do get a reasonable report out of the seismic stuff, we'll probably be putting exploratory bores down in mid-January.
Thanks, Dave. Councillor C.
Yeah, through you, Chair Kerry. Just a question really. Has there ever been any look what Ruahine Dairy Factory used to have? They had miles of it up there. Was it physically too far away? It's only a pipeline.
Years ago, we did talk about the factory up there and what they did have, and it goes back to that sustainability of having 90 litres a second on demand or 70 litres a second. And a little bit of work we did with it, it wasn't that high in production. Did the factory very well and all those sorts of things, but as far as trying to feed the town, the sustainability of pulling up to 90 litres or around about that, and then the distance travelling was it. But that's about as far as we did. We didn't really get into real depth with that.
Thank you. I'll just ask supplementary. Sorry, I was being asked by a lot of people, so I was just getting some ammunition. Thank you.
councillors, just before we start with the sheets in, I'm sorry, just before we
Start on the sheets. Andrew, I was just going to mention transport choices. Would you like to add anything to that, to your report there? It was mentioned by one councillor earlier on.
Yeah, thanks, Chair Kerry. Yeah, essentially we're still on a holding state status with that one. We are seeking a bit more feedback from Wakate, which I've literally emailed them this morning. And basically they're in the same space as well, waiting on guidance. There was a bit of a blurb in the bottom end of the announcement that came through from the Road to Zero side of things, that the CERF funding is being reviewed, which encompasses the transport choices side of things. But essentially, yeah, it's watch the space right now.
Thanks, Andrew, for that.
I'll just move on to the.
Just before we go, I do know that there's one in there as well, cheers for the infiltration strategy and implementation. I know that some of it was previously covered off, I think, in the last report, but I just wanted to highlight that I do know that Marcus Clifford has been working through some contract negotiations and workshops this week, and that the progress he's making is actually really good in that space. So it's really good to see what's going to happen and plan for that strategy as well. So just wanted to put that first. That's really good work there.
Yeah, no, thanks for that one. It's been chatted around the amongst councillors that sure. I'll quite flick through the sheets, councillors, and anything, just wave your hand if we, anything we don't need. So we'll go to Dennery wastewater treatment. We've had a little feedback there, haven't we? Fluoridation plant. That's things to we'll just sitting with the CE at the stage, aren't we?
So can we have a slight update on that? We have signed off on the funding agreement with MOH for that one. So that's where that is currently at the moment.
Good. All right, to Hillcrest School. Happy. SCADA telemetry upgrade. Hey, Tracy.
Sorry, can I just go back? The Pahiata Hillcrest School, just after the Tumaira meeting and the Pahiata Marai's interest, I just wondered if they could be added to the stakeholders.
Sorry, can you just say that once again?
The Pahiata Marae added to the key stakeholders for the IOU. Pahiata Hillcrest School, just to put them in.
Thanks, Ms. Tracy. SCADA telemetry. Lindau Walkway. Councillor Peter.
Kerry. I see the current stage here is October 23. We're a couple of months down the track. Has it progressed at all since the last couple of months?
We're just up to the Lindau Walkway.
But currently it's with NZTA in regards to carrying it out. We've had some preliminary design done with it, and I'm catching up with the revocations group before Christmas is hopefully the time in which to do it. And from there, I'll put forward that we do a heads of agreement in regards to the costs and the timings on having it done. So until we have the meeting with NZTA, I can't really give you more updates to that point. But at this stage, it's still positive for them to be delivering it for us.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mark, for that. Apply to a wastewater upgrade.
Apply to a wastewater treatment plant upgrade. Rahi Tohono, had a pretty good run through that, but me, Tracy, some.
Just having a look at the orange flag there with the Central Hawke's Bay bridges. I just wondered if Tauranga District Council had conversations with Central Hawke's Bay Council and reflected what that would do to our side of the road by increasing lines. We had that conversation directly with them.
I have not. I'm not tracking the conversation at this stage. Perhaps Hamish or Andrew may be able to.
Through you, Chair Kerry. So from memory, the reason they had to upgrade their bridges was to allow that activity to happen, and that they had it was a PG funding, I believe, to do that work, and that's recently been completed, which has allowed those larger trucks to the roads. So the impact on our roads specifically of the increase is being processed by our roading team. So they're assessing those applications because they still have to obviously go over our network as well. So Dan and Mark and their guys are looking at that side of things as it goes through. So I don't think there's an undue risk as such, but
Thanks. Sorry, councillor.
No, no. When you finish the project sheets, Kieran.
That's it.
I know, I've seen this project sheet in relation to that.
In relation to.
I was just gonna ask about the item 4. There's no project sheet.
No, we're going to do that with. Oh, we're at the end of it. Right. Councillor Mike and then do item 4.
For you, Chair, the Hawke's Bay trucks coming over for the extra weight, how many of them are milk tankers, please?
through your check area at a guess virtually zero, or very close to. And to be fair, the weight coming from Hawke's Bay, they come in empty and go out full. So yeah, that's sort of a one way.
Thanks. Andrew?
Yours?
Yeah, just to expand on that, so it's been flagged by the some of the local residents out at Wimbledon that the logging trucks coming out from the Tarawa district have increased in weight, and that's where I think we've had reports of 58 tonne going out through our roads, which previously we were restricted by the restrictions on the Central Hawke's Bay bridges. So it's more weights from us going out as opposed to weights from Central Hawke's Bay coming in.
You, Tracy?
Right.
No, I guess I just, we're on the receiving end from it. I just guess I was going to ask if there was anything we could do that Central Hawke's Bay could help us with, but if they're there on their roads empty, probably not.
Thank you. That's it's not on the specifically on the sheets, but we did have Councillor Irina and Councillor Ellie just asking about the 5-foot pool.
Is that right, Erin? You wanted the pool discussed, didn't you? Yeah. Okay. Mike, have you got any update on that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just to clarify as well, they don't appear in this sheet is just because the pool comes on with facilities, which goes up our other committee meeting. So the existing pool, I'm assuming, is the one that we're through here. So for that one there, currently what we've done is we've managed to take out all the old handrails and ladders. We've been doing the epoxy there, so filling up all the cracks. That's been currently done. They'll be looking at coming back to touch that up when they install the new stainless steel handrail and ladders. So last indication of that was that we should have it done before Christmas. So hopefully in the next week. I just need to chase them up again today and see where we're at with that. But that is currently the state of that. And then when that's done, it'll be ready to be filled.
Thanks, Mike. Can you organise some warm weather so it's with you?
Councillor, was that you happy with that with Mike's? Irina calling.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Oh,
Sorry, I've got to change screens from sheets. Sorry.
No, thanks for that. Councillor Sharon?
Thank you, Chief. With your discretion, I'd like to go back to 5.1. This is the pretty picture around the status of red, amber and green, Mike. Interested in your insight or level of comfort with how much is amber in terms of...
Oh, I see. No, actually, I am quite comfortable. The part there is that it is just that we have some of those as proposed carry forwards are just flagged as amber for that status until we have that approved at the next council meeting.
It's at the next council meeting.
Once that is then done, we will have them reflect as actually red, amber, green as to the status of the current state of the project.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Everyone happy with what councils? Right, so if we look at move on the second call road. 1.1 things. Councillor Peter, Councillor Ken. All in favour? Aye. Okay, carry. Thanks very much, Mike, for that. Appreciated. We move on here. Let's see.
7.3, so I think, Don. Oh, no, sorry, no, road and recovery, Mark, sorry. As you were, Don. He's not going, don't go away though. Okay. Gabriel Road and Recovery, thanks. Mike? Councillors?
So, City Ferry, I'd like to update a couple of the numbers. There was a claim put in yesterday for just over $2 million for the cyclone works, which has updated the numbers that are currently being shown here. If you look at table in 4.3, the amount spent to date goes from 8.9 or 9 million up to 11. The balance to spend obviously drops down, and the remainder required is now 24.4. As we've looked at before, the average at the start of the year we needed to spend was around 3.4, and we're currently looking at averaging around 2 at the moment. This is expected to rise quickly as we get into the new year and actually start the work season. Predominantly, the spend is around maintaining all the sites that are currently there and the design components and the like before we actually start works. So once the works kick in general, that spend is likely to rise. The second point through here is upon discussion, there is the opportunity for us to apply for the bespoke FAR through NZTA. Upon conversations with Hamish, I've been instructed to try and move that process along reasonably quickly. And I'm currently looking at that format and that at the moment. And that will basically help secure our funding into the new NLTP period. Beyond that, I'm happy to take any more questions.
Great. Thanks very much, Mark. So we'll go Councillor Sharon first. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair Kerry. Item 4.3, Mark, and I've just written down, we've got less remaining now than you had there. Is there, because I can't remember the time frame within which we have to spend this, but is there a risk that we're going to lose some of this money? Because you're going to be heck of a busy trying to spend more than your 4 million on average at the moment if we've only got a short time frame within which to spend it. But can you just clarify how to get it?
Through Chair, the funding is ongoing and will be rolled into the following years. One of the parts of the NZTA funding is every 3 years, all the funding stops and then is reallocated, except for emergency works funding. Because emergency works funding, and strangely enough, emergencies don't just fall within calendar years, or quite nicely, they're the only category that basically doesn't get reset as part of a new government or part of a new year.
We've got it all, even if it takes us longer to.
Yeah, the money will roll forward, and there's also an application for a 54, I think that's currently sitting in there as well, for the future works going into the next NLTP. The difficulty for us will be around at what funding rate we will get that. Definitely the extra 20%, but whether we can get 100% or something higher or something around the 9900 would be good. And we can only do that through that bespoke application, which I think doing that earlier than later would be good.
Okay. Good to hear. Thanks, Mark. Councillor, Tracy.
For you, Chair Kerry, I just wondered, 3.3, how many contractors were actually on that panel? What the uptake has been like?
I'll have to defer that across to Andrew, if you're there.
Yep. So we had 20 responses to the panel. They were varying from probably 25% were genuinely local. Then the next 50% were in the surrounding districts, and then there were about 25% that were further afield outside of the sort of wider region. Of that list, we have ranked them and scored them according to what their responses were, with a very high factor of local content in terms of weightings. which we have shortlisted 10 contractors, which we are progressing to the next stage of conversation with. Essentially, of the 20 contractors that have submitted, they have all passed the first stage. So if we do require additional resource, it is there waiting, but essentially it's trying to manage the amount of work versus what we can, I suppose, design and engineer quickly enough. So we believe that 10 is an appropriate number right now, just to put the commercial tension into it a little bit, as well as keep things moving. So
Thanks very much for that, Andrew. No further discussions on grading recovery. Right, Councillor, move on a second of a report. Councillor. Moving it, Councillor Mike. All in favour? Aye. Thanks, carried. Good afternoon, Don. Welcome to our meeting.
Tēnā koutou katoa, two councillors, Mayor and a Chair. Look, very much aware there's this one report where money's coming in and there is no money from ratepayers being used. So from that point of view, I guess it's a bit of light relief. And just out of interest, I happen to be listening to an interview with Far North Mayor Moko Tupania today with Catherine Ryan. For their local roads, they're looking for $175 million, and for their three wards, they're looking for $650 million. And he's hoping that Uncle Shane might help him, which I doubt. So it just gives a little bit of light relief for the report. I take the report as read, and you'll see on the On Track Fund, there is a update on that. We've now paid out for 80 of those applicants. 20 are ready for payment in the next few days. So that's 100. We've only got about 20 odd left, and they still require some information. But we're also being allowed to, instead of the 31st of December, it's now the 31st of January, simply because of the weather. And MPI have been been really good to deal with over this. And you can see the decline applications there. 33 on-site assessments were made through MPI. That took some time, and I have to say, were really well done. It is very difficult for someone to go on site trying to deal with someone who is really, really stressed, and probably hasn't, one or two people had not even thought about timing, contractor, or even the cost involved. And I think those on-site applications that were made settled a lot of people down, to be quite honest. Look, just going from that to the overpaid to the expo, because one really follows the other. We were expecting at that expo a lot of farmers under huge pressure and quite stressed. As it turned out, it was almost like a light relief day where they came together and they all realised we're in the same boat, and let's look at ways and means and listen to people that have experience around that. So there were some farmers there that I knew, you could see people making a beeline for them. I've been through this 2 or 3 times, and they've got through it, and you could see people going to them saying, look, this is my situation, what do I need to be doing? And from that point of view, not just giving out $210,000 worth of gear, it was just seeing people getting together and going away with, like a weight being shifted off their shoulders. And in particular, all of them were there as families, or as mum and dad in particular. And you could see many of the wives taking a huge burden around that. They were ones trying to pay the bills, trying to get groceries at the same time, trying to get the kids to school, and also looking after the husband who was under huge stress. From that point of view, I have to say the day was huge success. And all I can say is well done to the rural support people. They were outstanding. Jane and Simon and the team did a fantastic job. And also the task force screening guys were there to help load the trailers. So everything went so smoothly. It was just quite amazing, actually. But going back to the community hub funding, Sarah Fountain has done an exceptional job around this, actually, and put a lot of time into it. and as well as talking to all the local hubs, emergency places as well. Virtually all the stock that's going to go into this is going to be purchased locally. The local suppliers, I have to say, stepped up and really surprised us with some of the pricing. So including the generators, which is great. That's what we were hoping would happen, and they didn't miss out on the opportunity. So most of that has been ordered. The container's coming on Monday, so we can put a lot of that stuff away. We want to do is to get all the gear for each hub together and deliver it as one, and then help them set it up over a short period of time. And also celebrate the fact that I've got a heck of a lot for nothing. And I have to say again, the reaction from the locals has been, look, this is fantastic. And it gives them a sense that they really are prepared for a next event. It'll also include some training, first aid training that will come in as well. So we think that's very, very well covered. We've also got money left from this, so that anything untoward happens, and we've been also asked, for instance, one or two of the hubs said, look, what can we hardwire these generators in? Yes, you can, but we're waiting for PowerCo to have a look at them first to say yes or no. Some should not be hardwired in, and some should be available if it's not needed in the hall, could be used elsewhere, because it could be a local emergency somewhere you could use that generator. The only other generator that's out of this league and has to come from elsewhere is the one for Pongaroa fuel supply. That has to be, slightly larger than the ones we're supplying, and also it does have to have the ability to be plugged straight in, taken out, and moved away if necessary. It's delivered today. Oh, great. We hope it was today, so yeah, that's good. Just on the comms over Christmas, the final Bush Telegraph's out, and there's a final stakeholder newsletter going out, which is quite lengthy, we have to say, but it celebrates what has happened, but also looking ahead, what needs to happen and what people should be looking out for. And the main theme for that is try and take a break over Christmas and give yourself time to draw a breath and think about 2024. And for most farmers, it's not going to be an easy year, and probably the next 2 or 3 years is not going to be easy. But we think it's really critical for the family as much as the farmer to have a break now and be prepared. So that's the theme of that particular newsletter. Right.
Right, thanks very much, Tom. We'll just go around the councillors, Councillor Mike and Councillor Sharon.
For you, Chair. Don, the them are going to be solar as well, aren't they?
Not the generators, no. 2 of the halls will be fitted with solar power. That's coming from MB funding. Now, that will happen over next year sometime. As it turned out, only 2 halls actually made an application. We nominated 4, 2 did not. One thought, nah, when we saw who is making an application, we feel those 2 should get it. So look, and that's up to $150,000 worth of solar gear for those particular halls. So it is quite substantial. What we are aware of now, though, is that, depending on what this new government does, there's still about 500 odd million available through the solar upgrades, and they are going to take a large chunk of that to put into communities, and particularly those that have been impacted or likely to be impacted actually from another event. So there could be another opportunity for the other halls to look at that.
Thank you for that. Supplementary. And the other thing is, just want to say thank you for this whole year of work, and also Rural Support Trust. It seems like they've done a brilliant job. Thank you very much.
My job is really easy, I have to say, is you've got a fantastic team, and it's been a real pleasure, to be honest.
I'll Councillor Sharon.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I've got a couple of comments and a question really, Dawn. The Rural Support Trust Expo, I'll declare my conflict of interest on one of them, and I'm married to the treasurer, so I know how much money and organisation for that day has gone into it. It was an absolute pleasure to stand alongside and prepare hamburgers and watch these people who kept going into their pocket to pay for a coffee. Everything was free. They walked through the gate. I had an apology from one of the farmers that I met on the day after Gabriel, and she couldn't wipe the smile off her face. She said, "I've been here 2 hours, Sharon. I'm really sorry." I said, "This is what it's all about." And the other thing that I really noted about this is this was an event that wasn't around a pub. It didn't involve alcohol. And you could see all of those. I mean, KB Ford are doing really well out of their ranges. There's no doubt about that, because they all rocked in with a trailer and they all left with fence post, fencing gear. They had a gift pack that had been put together from a whole lot of suppliers across, the district. They had health checks. I was really surprised as to how many went and got a health check, which was really cool. And the buzz in that room, you were there, Steve. You didn't need to use a microphone. The noise was loud enough as it was. It was just an absolute fantastic day. And that doesn't happen without good teamwork and fabulous collaboration amongst all the agencies that were in that building. So 210,000, the majority of which was donation, be it from, through the rural support mechanisms that we have and or from our local people, and that is hugely commendable. The other point I want to make, the emergency hub funding, I'm being really impressed, Dawn, about the pragmatism that's been applied to the decisions here. I was at Pongaroa community meeting last night, and they were talking about the generator that's about to be dropped off today. Knowing the size of it, they're worried how the courier is going to be able to, but they were telling me it's for the fuel stop, but they want it to be able to roll it up the road and stick it into the hall, and they're having a gas stove put in, and some of the committee saying, but haven't we already got one? No, they decided to put an electric one in, but now they're going to have the opportunity to put in a gas stove. And that level of pragmatism and understanding of what would actually work in this community, I think, speaks volumes around how we've been able to apply that funding. Along with Councillor Mike, completely endorse the teamwork and the leadership that's been shown. But I do have a question. When will the recovery program begin to wind down?
So we've had our initial conversations around that, and probably February, several will step back anyway. And also, Tony Chapman will be leaving shortly. To be honest, the next stage really is more around economic, and looking at the long-term impacts for Tararua and what can be done around cushioning that impact. And that can be done outside of recovery. But we really have hardly even touched the recovery budget for this financial year of 900,000. So I'm personally more than happy to step away as soon as it's ready to go. But you've got to, if you have got a budget, you've got to think about what you can do with it in a practical sense. You just don't want to give that back if you can help it.
And the reason I make that comment is I'm getting a sense that people just want to move on. Let's stop talking about recovery and move on. But, I just wondered what the infrastructure and the framework around our initiatives might look like in the future.
Well,
thanks for you, Chair Kerry. Yeah, so we've had some discussions with Don, the team. One thing that we don't want to do at this point is the new government is transitioning and is talk about exiting recovery. Excuse me, we want to obviously stay alive for a bit longer to see what other funding is available, and certainly around our roading as well. So it's not just a matter of keeping an impression that we're doing recovery. There is still some work to do, but it may be, as Don touched on, around that sort of natural attrition that staff do leave. But we do have funding to the end of the year as well. So I met with the team. The first part of the funding that was quite flexible in terms of how we use that. The second part of the funding from the DPMC is quite prescriptive. So, but it'll be a shame to start handing that back. My view is that we probably early in the year, we will look at an exit strategy. Don, I've said this, I think I said it to Don as well, will be last man standing. Of course, through his availability, and then maybe some of the functions of recovery will start drifting into BAU type functions. But I just think we're a little bit too early for that. And probably February, as Don mentioned, we'll start looking at what an exit strategy might look like.
Thank you.
One thing, Chair and Brian noted that Napier has undergone a very detailed review and have been really panned for it. And I think one of the successes for this council was the fact your CD operation was across council members and local workers, so that there was an immediate response, whereas with Napier, it was actually Hastings who did the response on behalf of Napier. So I think that's the other thing, is that we will, in the next year, we'll review where things went right and where things went wrong, so that you've got a report for the next event to make sure it doesn't happen again. Yeah.
Thanks very much, Don and Brian. I'll just a couple of questions, Deputy Steve, and then.
Thank you, Chair Kerry. Two observations. One, Don, I've got to, this was asked by a business person in Dannevirke, and what was the procedure on procuring the posts taken out?
Well, look, I had nothing to do with it. That was,
I don't know if it's.
Timber Timbers, I think, donated most of that, as far as I know. The donation. But
Rural Support Trust event.
Right, yeah, no, that's fine, because I need to answer questions for the people that ask me questions. So who should I see for that then, please?
I'm pretty sure we put it out to get read. So gold mine versions as to what deal could be done for that amount of money.
Okay, that's fine. Because I need to take those. That's because I'd like to ask. Cool. Yeah. That's the first one. And second one, to do with there's a slight conflict of interest here with the generators. My son's business has been asked to, amongst other companies. That depends on the configurations and how far they want to go. Is that the same?
Sorry,
the lines of these generators.
Yeah.
It's quite a involved beast, depending on the properties and so forth. So, but it looks promising.
Yeah, it does. And we made sure that we got the local, two local companies to do for the smaller generators. The final decision has been made, and I don't know which company it is. I've stepped right away. I'm just saying I've got a conflict of interest. Oh, right, okay. Yeah. Oh, good as gold. Okay.
Thanks, Steve. Please, Tracy.
Thanks, Chair Kerry. Look, a huge thank you for the team and their support for Rural Support Trust. They have just done an outstanding job. The highlight for me was that buzz in that room and just hearing those farmers meet each other and talk to each other outside, and they were just so positive. But just out in the community, there will be a letter of thanks coming from one of those farmers, and they were incredibly grateful for the accommodation vouchers, and actually confirmed to me that there is no one.
Yeah, planning about it, so it's attractive to you, and I just said that was exactly the point of it. So that particular event absolutely just hit the mark every way, shape and form, and there must have been an incredible amount of
planning that went into that to make it such a huge success.
Done to the Rural Support Trust.
Look, I'll pass that on. Thank you, Mayor Tracy. Just one note of caution is that there's indications that the Rural Support Trust budget will be really slashed this next financial year. And I think that's something that the council would like to perhaps think about to approach the government on behalf of the Rural Support Trust to ensure they do have a budget that's adequate for them to carry on. From what I've heard, there's not enough money for even one trust to operate throughout in one rural area, let alone for the whole of New Zealand. So, yeah.
So, Scott?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I guess just a quick question on that. We're talking about having a substantial amount of funding left behind that we want to make good use of. Could we perhaps contract the Rural Support Trust to be doing some ongoing work for us with that funding if funding's a difficulty?
That's a jump up and mention something similar to that. So I have had a brief conversation with Jane because she mentioned, that the amount of work she could probably do is so within the funding that we've got from DPMC, Rural Support Trust was covered within that as one of the contributors. So Don and the team will certainly look at how they can sort of be at least to fund Rural Trust and their sort of recovery actions, what that might look like. We've got to be careful that we don't go outside of what is recovery as well, but certainly within the rural area might not be that hard.
Thanks very much, Brian, and thanks very much, Don. I think you can feel from around here that there's a lot of appreciation, great appreciation for your team and the work for this past year. And thanks very much for the interaction with us and the councillors. And it's been in a tough time. It's been good to see the way Tara and the team have responded. So thanks for that. And any other questions? We'll say thank you very much. We'll get a move in a second for Don's report. Thank you, Councillor Sharon, Councillor Peter. All in favour? Thanks very much. Right, councillors, we'll formally declare the ICM meeting closed. Just wouldn't mind staying. And Andrew, if you just wouldn't mind staying for a second, we would just like to have a quick update on